Okay, the German internet gods are back in action, and we are back in action as well as we restart the whole game. Hippie versus Scoof here coming up in game number 1 of the quarterfinals. We have the second one coming up on the side of Hippie versus 56 BDV on the right side. And this two veteran divisions, two divisions that have dominated WARNO for a long time each, but have been nerfed into okayish places now. And it's going to be interesting to see on Omen who has the better division for the map. So, what do we got here? All right.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to commemorate Scoop here trying to fight against the negative reputation that Hippie may have in some circles and trying to keep people's expectations balanced with this username here. So we respect this is very sportsmanship-like behavior from Scoof. And Scoof here, it's an excellent match. It's a great match and a great matchup on a great map. And 56th here being the peak OP, annoying, horrible infantry aggro division for the Soviets, played by Scoof, the biggest Russian player in the group here, with Hippie doing the same with second UK. And the differences that we can see here in the deployment is that Procomi, okay, I'm going to be saying Procomi a lot here, and you know why. So Scoof is having more units, especially more cheap units with the Okrana, supported by the fire support truck Metla, which is an extra 50 cal and a single rocket pod to do full damage on infantry in buildings. And these seem to be kind of, especially with the Rasvedka BMP2s, which are upvetted here because 56th allows for free veterancy to basically all of its units. So you can upvet stuff more reliably. And we're seeing the AGS-17 trucks, we're seeing BRDM-2s, we're seeing BMP-2s, we're seeing BTR-70s with the grenade launchers, the AGS-17s, and this is just a lot of vehicle fire support. And vehicle fire support is the counter to the SAS. The SAS are great at close range. They can protect the airspace in front of helicopters, and they can even pretty reliably shoot down diving enemy bombers. But they can't deal with vehicles outside of the 700-meter range. So if controlled properly, the fire support can deal a lot of damage while the SAS are stuck engaging some cheaper Okrana infantry units. Now, we can see from Hippie that Hippie is investing a lot into defensive infantry weaponry. These Milan 2s and MAG 762 machine guns. These are the cheap option to actually fill the space with a lot of units and a lot of firepower, because the SAS are so god darn expensive. They are 100 points with 20 points going in for the Saxon. The Saxon nowadays has so enough ammunition that it's actually kind of a decent fire support unit, considering it's so fast and also has smoke launchers. But even then, if you kind of need to commit to the aggro when you're playing a second UK. You just can't have such an incredible amounts of forward deployment points going out there and not supporting them with continuous aggression, and which so in case Goof here can catch out even like one or two of the SASs and can maybe engage them on good ranges, the core component of Hippie's fighting force could be destroyed. Also, there is a Lynx helicopter with the rocket launchers and air mobile pioneers. These things, single one of them is the correct amount for the opener, I think. The SNEP rockets are really accurate, and even though you only get 36 of them, you can quickly reload and use it as fire support for your SAS. Problem is that the Spetsnaz GRUs coming in here for Scoof also have stingers.
Yeah, so the Stinger forward deploy infantry that have dominated deployments ever since they have entered the battlefields. And we're coming around here on both sides. The AGS, nice fire support on the right side here for Scoof. On the left side, we have SAS coming around and coming around with Stinger and 84. The Minimi Para did level them up in DPS a decent bit on the ground support, so the extra fire support of the BMP2s, the BRDMs, and the AGSs will be helpful to kill them off. That's how you want to kill SAS. You don't want to fight them infantry on infantry, and you don't want to send planes after them because their stingers will shoot those things down. So you need either artillery or direct fire support like the AGSs firing up from them. And yeah, both sides really focused on the center. No big force pushing into Gulf, no big force pushing into Delta. It's all about the center here at the beginning of the game. And as you pointed out, yeah, the Lynx in danger, getting shut down there immediately. SAS now pushing forward, and the AGS here starting the fire support from the side.
Yeah, there's first minute buys. We're seeing Scoof buying 2 BMP2s, and those are actually, one of them is going to Golf to secure the southern position, whereas Hippie is buying a Challenger to go into the mid. Immediately, Hippie probably recognizing the same thing that I did, that the light vehicles are going to be a huge problem. Oh, here we can see SAS is on the close range with the Okrana deploying right next to it, getting two 84 kills, 2 infantry squads, and Metlas. That's immediately a nice trade up for the SAS. SAS has now run out of AT weapons, so it cannot deal with the BTR right next to it. But especially in close ranges, it has so much DPS against infantry, it can still be value sitting around there. But oh, Hippie is bringing out a Harrier. This is the cheapest fighter bomber, 120 points for 2 rocket pods. Takes out one of the BTRs. There's still a BTR and a BMP2, so the SAS can't be pushing, but engagement's still going relatively well. SAS on... Actually, down south, SAS have been destroyed by the AGS-17. That's a really nice up trade.
Yeah, the AGS now getting a shot at the next SAS as well. Thanks to their decent veterancy, they can even deal decent damage on the long ranges with the AGSs. And get another 2 kills there on the SAS. Next SAS down to 3 hit points as well. So BMP2s will have a bit of an easier time. The SAS in the north caught out outside of the building as well against the Spetsnaz GRU. So gets pushed back there a bit as well. The Medis pushing forward to deal with the MGs. And Hippie's forces in the center running a bit thin, but he has enough fire support units to fall back onto. Milan 2s and the MGs to hold on to the position there for a while, and he got the fire support. He gets the next part of fire support business online with the 175mm artillery piece entering the battlefield, moving towards the front line.
At the same time, Scoof has a Nona howitzer, which is a 100-point, very good automatic mortar, sort of a thingy, self-propelled mortar, as well as 2 Afghanzi units. Afghanzi here are upvetted, of course. They have excellent infantry fighting weapons, probably the best ones you have in 56. With the RPOs, the flame launchers, it means that no infantry unit can immediately start challenging them. So you basically gain some free ground with them if you deploy them in the front line. Right now, there is no supply for Hippie, so the SAS are not... wait, there is a supply, actually. It's just next to the rover. So the SAS need to go back to the headquarters to get themselves back up. The Challenger is not in a fighting position, but that's probably good. You want to move it out when you see an opportunity. And second Challenger, as well as 2 Warrior Milans coming in here, a full-on early mechanized transition. And second UK versus 56 is in a weird location because they have the worst mechanized, in my opinion, but they have a way better tank. The Challenger, technologically superior to anything 56 has on offer. So if you get the Challengers out there on force, this can mean that you can start trading against both the lower tech T-62s as well as the BMP-2s.
Hawks versus Mi-24D in the V in the north. The Mi-24 gets its gun on target though, and the one frontal armor not good enough there. So the Yak-B on short range does get the kill. Will start hunting down the SAS in the center as well. Scoof still hunting that, but the next Harrier is coming around. This one doesn't have air-to-air missiles, so it can deal damage against the Mi-24 with its solid 30mm Arden guns, but it can't just reliably one-tap it. And the Okranas now pushing north as well. There is still a Scouts with Law, so the Urals have to be careful. They don't have armor, so the Law can potentially kill both. That would be pretty annoying for Scoof's northern push. Harrier comes around with the rocket run there as well. Will actually just kill one of them in transport, and that's the issue with the Urals, they just get shot down by any fire support because of the lack of armor. Scouts will get into the fight against the next one, miss with their first law, and the unload comes a bit too late, so the scouts get the kill there eventually. MiG-23 MLD coming in with decent missiles here. R-24Rs, not amazing though. Trying to get the hit against the Harrier, fails to do so. Has to be careful around the SAS. Mi-24 gets the SAS in the rear at least, but good kills there for Hippie in the north, and the push towards Delta stopped for now. No push from Hippie towards the south, so focus still on the center, on the fire support, which now with the 175mm is pretty strong, and since the cluster mortar has been nerfed, I would say that also is the better fire support here for the UK division.
Yeah, the Nonas can do great damage, especially on close ranges for the price, but they are still just a mortar unit, basically. They are not as decisive. They don't just single shot eliminate squad as we just see the 175mm doing. And Afghansi are trying to push, and they are trying to start the tick, basically. If you can secure the left corner here with the Rover CP in cover, if you can challenge this large concave of fire support now with 2 challengers and warriors and infantry all around the place, the center being held by just machine guns and the sides being held by longer range units is the correct choice in dealing with the Afghansi here. The challengers need, the only thing that can actually fight the challengers right now would be a fighter bomber, or Hippie just not microing them against Conqueror's missiles. Rover dodging away from the mortar fire and dodging a Conqueror's from the Rasvedka here maybe as well. Yes, the challenger smokes it off. And if Hippie can actually break the back of Scoop here, if Hippie can keep these mechanized forces alive and start transitioning into airplanes, considering 56's weakness is in only having a mediocre fighter and not having any proper long-range anti-air. So if Hippie can keep up the small mechanized forces of the British and the larger air forces, which I think might be the logic here, considering how many cheap machine gun teams MAG 762s we're seeing. They could maybe second UK could actually like outscale 56th. 56th wants here to get the defense up, and then they want to spam every T62 and BMP2, because on defense, those ATGMs are going to be great. There's only a very limited amount of challengers, and Hippie is bringing them out at bet 1, which does lessen their number.
Yes, Harrier coming around the north again, and we finally see some AA there from Scoof. Some Igla teams coming around, but the MiG-23 really is the only reliable way of killing off the Harriers. And on this map, your air spawns are pretty far back, so buying planes reactively isn't really that great on the map. You usually want to have fighters crawling in the rear so that they can come around quicker as a reaction. Nonna getting some Milan 2 kills in the center, and the town by now nearly fully in the hands of Scoof, but Scoof will have to advance a bit further. We have a 175mm artillery piece from the other side, trying to get some hits onto the Afghansi in the center. Sergeant Medis pushing forward, Harrier moving around, gets shot at, and pushed back here a bit as well. But the Modradvedka slowly advancing towards the north, but Hippie also starting to set up more defenses there. Next air mobile with Lynx rocket on the way. Whilst, yeah, the mechanized force in the center gets bigger, whilst this infantry starts to grow smaller. But the good part is there is open terrain that Scoop has to push towards to get the last part of the area, and there the warriors and the challengers will be hard to beat, at least without the planes, without the ATGM planes that you can bring around as 56, and that's your best aired asset, basically.
Yeah, here we're now seeing Hippie's infantry trying to push against the Metlas here. The full-on 2 warriors and a challenger, actually 3 warriors and challenger right behind them. And the trading here doesn't seem to be the greatest for Scoof. Scoof's Conqueror's missiles are still in reinforcement. There's only a 1 Fagot here with the BMP smoking itself off. The Nonna is doing great damage, as you said, taking out anything in the front line that's getting spotted. There seems to be a recon advantage for Scoop, just because Scoop has more fighting recon units in the front lines, whereas Hippie has been using the smaller scouts all around the map. And yeah, so far infantry attack seems to be going well. There's mortar fire, artillery fire reliably getting out there, and air mobiles have low 80s, which means that they are amazing against the BMPs in basically every situation. Just having them out there with the Gazelles for spotting and Lynx Helars for long-range defense, kind of, I don't think the Scoof attack is gonna be that successful up north, but it really depends on if the Mi-24 gets shut down, and it does get shut down, and suddenly I see a lot of points out there that need more reinforcements, and that's not the greatest position when Hippie's counterattack is in full swing in the middle.
Yeah, the Warriors here pushing in nicely. At least the Warriors still died to the Mi-24 in the north, so the BMP-2 has superiority there. MiG-23 can dive pretty deep there as well, as the SAS at least now have died for the most part as well, so no more Stingers, and that's a bit of an issue for second UK, that the best AA unit is also their opening infantry, because the Javelin's not great manpads, and the track trap here is not amazing either. The fighters are okay, but only on par with the MiG-23s, and a bit better micro here on the side of Scoof, leading to one Phantom dying, no MiG-23 down yet, but the AA comes in clutch here, saving the second Phantom. So 1-to-1 trades and fighters in the end, both sides having a damaged fighter repairing now. And Hippie still has a Harrier rocket in the skies, whilst no ATGM planes have been bought yet. They have been nerfed in the past, so they are not as cheap anymore and as cost efficient. So using them against Warrior Milans at the beginning isn't that amazing. I still think you need them here to, over time, get more efficient trades out and kill off 3, 4, 5 Warriors over time. Maybe kill a Challenger with them as well, to really start reducing the mechanized force that is irreplaceable for second UK. You only get a really limited pool of those mech forces.
Yeah, it's the BMP2, like, I wouldn't call it spam, but the BMP2 transition, the transition from a light infantry light infantry aggro division into a kind of a heavy infantry mechanized division is one of the things that makes 56 so powerful. The fact that you get a free veterancy in so many of your units means it's completely valid to take stuff at 2-vet, and 2-vet units, especially infantry fighting vehicles, benefit a lot from that. A lot from that bonus, but so far just keep sending the BMP2s out there to serve as a front line. It's like, as you need to challenge the challengers. There needs, or you need to not have your stuff in such a tight concentration where the heavy artillery can just keep getting free kills at them. This is it's a bad spending of points. Should be pointed here that this is a Scoof pick, a Scoof counter pick to the second UK, and even though I think Hippie probably opened up a little bit conservatively because he expected the Afghanzi opener, but instead got the Spetsnaz GRU opener, this meant that Hippie gained a little bit of like an aggressive stance early on, and gained such good trades early on, and had the ability to start building up the challengers here. The lead of Hippie is only under 300 points, but the worst case scenario of Scoof getting an early tick and then being able to defend it with all the BMPs and T62s, that has not happened. And now with the first T62 MD1s getting bought out here, these are the ones without the missiles, so not the best one, not the most expensive ones. And these are just categorically just inferior to the British stuff. So
yeah. And one big advantage here for Hippie is that he has the air advantage with the bombers currently, and that leaves him to leave the south towards Alpha completely open. No investments there whatsoever, only 2 recon units. And because he knows he can call in planes if necessary to help out there. MiG-27K here failing to get the kill and flies over a good amount of javelins and the last remaining SAS here. The Challenger, that's one of the good parts about the Challenger. The Challenger, compared to other heavy tanks, a bit slow, a low rate of fire, and no extra HE fire output of MGs, but it has good frontal armor for its point value, and that means it can eat one ATGM from an airplane frontally without dying, and the second one did miss, so the Challenger does survive for now. 1 went down so far, 2 still up on the battlefield, potentially 2 more up with CV challengers, so currently the situation there for Hippie is still fine. Once you start losing the challengers, the T62s can play a lot more aggressive, but for now, they can't really take those fights easily. Against the damaged one right now, they might be able to, but Goof not really pushing the issue, and currently just grinding on, and as long as that goes on, the extra artillery for Hippie here is going to be amazing.
Yeah, the Milan 2's recon and fighting recon with supply and artillery. Hippie's buys here are strictly defensive. Hippie is recognizing probably that counter-attack momentum.
He might get a tick here, yeah. CV goes down in the middle. Artillery, the Nonna finally found it, thanks to the enveloping move from the Salvin units, and now the Metla can help out, and okay, we will get the tick here for Scoof up in a second. And there the question is... Points?
Protoss what? Oh, okay, your mic just went wild, but it's okay.
Okay, and see if that all goes up. Yeah, units here disengaging, BTR 70 coming around, as the Javelins do retreat as well. Warrior Milan still trying to hold out here on the upper part of this whole section, defending against the Dejan RPG 7. But yeah, this area now under control. Rover Sipki already on the way. Can that be stopped before it moves back in? Smoke play here. The Nonna could just target that though. And I would like to see a second Nonna. Yeah, second Nonna already on the way. Just targeting that smoke and trying to get the kills there. Targets the Challenger right now. I guess that's okay as well when you push forward with the T62. But yeah, let's see how it all goes. Okay, Rover CP gets into the zone. Hopefully the Nonnas, yeah, immediately switch target. That's what you want to do here, Skiff. You want to get up in points. You want to get the point advantage. I still think a push in the south now with the MiG-23s being around in decent numbers would be helpful. Ooh, supply truck shut down there. The Medis teams on the side and the Conquerors teams on the side here doing a decent job. And I feel like it might be time for Hippie to try to push the advantage in the north. Try to get up on the hill and maybe either put India under pressure or have a direct interception line between Hotel and Bravo in the middle.
Yeah, Hippie's reinforcements here are trying to secure the southern flank. Both the helicopters and the infantry are going to try to get into the forested hill and prevent this, what the Conquerors now has destroyed a full and an empty Bedford full of supply. The descending Afghansi and Metis are themselves a huge risk, forcing Hippie to deploy further away. So committing to the middle fight here. Middle fight once again, another counterattack here with air mobile scouts and forces trying to target those Motoras Vedkas, which are firing at the Milan 2. But yeah, all of these points. Okay, finally the expensive stuff is coming out here. Tornado HE dropping out. Still 100% commitment into the middle fight. And I think Hippie's centralized mech forces here are have a potential to win this, just trying to hold and prevent the surroundment or concavement, and knowing that they have the heavier artillery. The grind fights do kind of favor second UK right now, but you're correct that it could be played differently. You could try to push the other fronts, which is why I like Omen as opposed to a lot of other grindy maps. Even now you can see that Hippie has basically nothing defending the southwestern angle, but since right at the start, the momentum has been going into the middle fight, and Hippie has kept it up very nicely with some very decent micro, and in my opinion, a pretty well sorted out unit combination, mixing up a lot of those effective light machine guns to slow down the enemy attack and force the enemy to keep buying infantry and keep doing these imperfect assaults. So far, even those two, the Rasvetka BMP and a full BMP 2, bought in the first minute of the game, first income, and still hasn't been used into anything. That is the power of having the momentum and getting to decide where the fights are being fought.
Yeah, but 2 planes lost to the Igla Hedgehog wall that Scoof has been able to set up. A Harrier and the cluster plane down now, so that will enable a bit more aggressive moves here from Scoof, as the air tap now pretty depleted on the side of Hippie, and that has been a pretty decisive factor so far. And I really like the Nona targeting here, constantly switching up and constantly firing into good spots using the low aim and reload time of these units. Oh, and we see another challenger fighting the dust. One remaining on the battlefield. That's the last one. The last normal one. Challenger CV already on the way. Get 2 of those as well. I'm pretty sure the second one will come out soon, but MiG-27K is finally starting to do their job. And that will enable the T-62s really to set up the dominance here, because you can't push into T-62s if you don't have the challengers. And if the center still is under control of Scoof, when the last challenger goes down, I feel like Hippie will have a tough time making it through here, as the Eagle wall here really starts to do its job as well. Helicopters getting shut down, and this starts to look a bit dicey here for our player in blue.
Yeah, Hippie, for whatever reason, maybe accidentally shutting off the rifles of his Terriers Pioneers in the infantry fight there down south. But still, even though under Metla fire and the T-62 is covering there, will probably be able to take a hold of this corner. And the lack of challengers and the increasing numbers of both just cheap front fighting infantry, such as the Okrana and the Metla, as well as the BMP2s building up their larger network of ATGMs. This is it's starting to look a little bit scary, a little bit dicey here with under 100% leadership, 100-point leadership. Hippie basically now needs to win the middle. With 17 minutes left, it is possible to start attacking India or Gulf, but the units for it are not in place, and the transition into that could maybe compromise the middle. So the middle is where everybody is committed at this point and probably not going to commit away from it.
Yeah, with the artillery here, the Nonas starting to target the challenger again. If that last normal challenger goes down, Hippie's forces here really gonna be in a tough spot in the northern part of this. Currently, the challenger doing a good job there, holding off the mechanized forces from enveloping the north completely, allowing Hippie to bring in more ATGMs there. MiG-27K on the way again. And yeah, it's hard to smoke in time against the fire and forget missiles, and it gets the CV1 in the middle, leaving only the rover CP there around as a CV. Let's see if that one gets figured out by Scoof, because if so, that is an easy target. That's an easy take back. Challengers now down to 2 potential ones, only 1 on the battlefield, and there's still 15 minutes remaining. This is looking better and better for Scoof, pushing forwards with some Dejanikis towards the rover CP, and not all that many forces there to stop it from reaching the buildings and reaching a spot where it can just use the RPG to finish off the rover CP at point blank range. There is still the SAS, they deal decent damage. Tornado HE bomber coming around to deal with the Dejaniki in the south, will get around and will get out alive, but rover CP has to evacuate, and I think it's too late. The Dejanikis are in range and they get the kill there. So no CV here right now on the front line. New Challenger Mark II is bought, but it will arrive too late. I'm pretty sure by then the point lead will have been taken over. It will take a while to arrive, and even if it arrives here, likely no forces left to allow it to move back in, as the SAS go down as well. Medi's pushing forward, and Hippie in a lot of trouble. Needs to maybe find a new way to get 2 points here. Starts the attack in the north with SAS with Foxes, but that hasn't worked out so far. So far Scoof holding out the middle quite nicely. +1 tick is back up. 175mm artillery trying to enable a way back into the middle here. Trying to kill off the Dejaniki, but currently the 175mm not doing as much of work as they have done in the earlier part of this game.
Yeah, I think a big problem with Hippie's artillery usage is that they are double salvoing when that is just complete overkill. You could have 2 different salvos and destroy 2 different targets, but instead Hippie has been targeting like single Okrana squads or ATGMs with double artillery, and that's just half the effectiveness, really. Now another MiG-27 going out there, getting a front hit on the Challenger. Challenger does survive here, but it's under fire.
And it goes down, and that leaves only the CV1 remaining. Last heavy tank of Hippie on the battlefield, and this is looking pretty rough here for our player in blue right now, as Scoof here keeps up the pressure. T62 MD1 pushing up. MP2 holding the line on the north. That is, I think, Hippie's potential way to victory here. Trying to get something into India, but at the same time has to be careful about the stuff in the north. Is sending in air mobiles into the southern Gulf zone as well. 30 minutes remaining, so there is time to try to get some more points here. BMP2 and yeah, BMP2's here shooting up the first Lynx air mobile though. Second one likely not gonna land either. And we see a GG being called here. As we see, yeah, Scoof getting the W here in game number 1. Hippie GGing out. Well played by our player in red. They're bringing the 56 with the normal grind back. And Hippie's opener was good. Hippie's mid game was solid as well. I just feel like the artillery didn't continue the fire enough. Like they did so well with the first couple of salvos, taking out so many entrenched positions, and he forced those entrenched positions nicely as well. But then he stopped firing at AA units and so on, got a bit complacent there, and the Eagler started to take out his planes. And when he lost the air dominance, it was just a question of time until he lost the game. And then once the challengers were down, yeah, the room was done for getting forward.
Yeah, you know what they say about 56th? They never stop coming, and that's just the fact. They have so much stuff to bring out. They can keep up a solid, quickly and reliably reinforcing attack, and they can do it with relatively high veterancy units. And the Deshantinki RPG 7s have a nice extra sniper rifle as well as a good AT weapon. So even in addition to being just standard 7-man infantry, they can hold the line, and relatively more expensive like say UK troops need to also have their so if you want to have the superior UK infantry out there, you're going to have to first invest into getting the 9-man squads, the air mobile pioneers, or the moto air mobiles, and then you're gonna also have to have the larger mechanized force there, and that's just a lot of points to counter the standard BMP2 that can multiply itself by like dozens. And you know, I thought Hippie had that. I thought that the trading had gone so well, but like 56 holds such a potential to exhaust enemies in these kinds of middle fights. And I think if like Hippie predicted the one opener and probably predicted the mid game as well. But as you said, some missed control and maybe some over reliance on the overall game plan prevented the usage of the singular powerful squads, you know, the 9-man squads, the SAS, in opening up new fronts, which could have maybe been a better way to deal with an enemy that is spamming Okra.
Yeah, and we have a really different second game here with two divisions that always have brought results but never dominated the meta because they are more specialized. 4th Mudschützen versus 6 US, and map is going to be airport here. Final map going to be Black Forest, as that was the last unbanned maps in the best of 3 scenario. We have game 1 counter pick here from Scoof, picking 56 against the second. Now we have 6 US as the first pick, 4th Mudschützen as counter pick from Hippie. And in the final game, to eliminate any potential of advantages through counter picks, we now have a blind pick for the final one. That means potentially you could also get direct mirror matches with the same division being picked in the the decider game. We have 5th versus 27th here in a potential decider game though, but first Hippie has to defend against Scoof's match ball here in game number 2. Let's see if he is able to do that, or if 6 US can lead Scoof to victory. Quick break, and then we're going back with the second one. And that brings us back to game number 2 here, as we have Scoof on match point now, with now bringing around the 6 US here versus Hippie's 4th Mudschützen, and that is a pretty interesting one. As both much as the counter pick, so no amazing air tap, but a pretty good AA tap here. And decent forward deployment as well to face the 6 US on the ground on similar footing without over investing there. And that is going to be interesting if Hippie can defend here against the potential or likely air spam going to come out on the other side. Before we jump in though, quick shout out to the Metrino page and big shout out to Praying Wolf here, coming in with a $100 support here for the tournament with the latest assistance, bringing us up to $600 of prize pool already. And if you want to help out further, guys, you can do direct contributions like Praying Wolf in any amount you can afford. Or you can also help out raising the prize pool completely for free. All you have to do is go through the link in the chat right now and click on the claim code button. And yeah, click up here on the top on the claim code button and add 25 cents to the prize pool completely for free. A lot of you have done that already. We have already gotten a second bunch of codes here. If we can get through these, we might be able to get a third bunch before the finals. So the quicker we get through this, the more free money we can add to the community through this. So if you haven't done that yet, take a couple of seconds, get over there. And if you haven't followed the channel yet, consider doing that as well. If you haven't liked on YouTube, please do this too, so that more people see amazing WARNO in their life. And yeah, let's get back here into the Hippie versus Brook Scoof action here, as this is really a hot matchup, a matchup that I don't think we have seen before, or at least not in this season. And I'm really interested to see how Hippie tries to deal with the air on the other side.
Yeah. So basically, I think Hippie might be trying to refer to this this new WARNO law that I am thinking about, which is the law of being just a little bit heavier than your opponent. That the best Goldilocks space for your division to be is to not to be too much lighter or too much heavier than your opponent, but to just have the 1 degree more of armor and to be able to and support equipment and all of that stuff. And if you look at this fourth moto as a counter pick to sixth, the T55 AM2s are completely superior to the mech, very limited mech of sixth. You get the Fallschirmjägers, the Fallschirmjäger Metises, which are not as powerful frontline fighting special forces, but they are still frontline fighting special forces. They get the Metis missile, which is nice in taking out some early aggro with the recon vehicles that we're seeing coming out of Scoop's side. And overall, the deployment here for Hippie seems to be pretty defensive and going maybe in the wrong place, though not necessarily. The Cube here is a very interesting piece. It's got starting out with its weapons turned off, so it cannot be tagged by the seed or spotted by electronic warfare planes, and so Hippie most likely wants to wait out for enemy air aggro or air attacks and then start trading against them. And then from that tempo, jumping pole, transition into some kind of a mechanized force. The light defensive units, the Conqueror's cars here doing long range defense, and grenade launchers, 30 millimeters going, doing urban defense. Those are going to basically face and challenge the limited Navy SEALs and airborne attack. Actually, not an airborne anymore, but long range surveillance spec ops. Those are going to try to take control of the urban areas, but it's gonna be of limited use if Hippie actually wants to invest in fighting back that area, because East German infantry is just overall pretty decent, and you get a lot of cheap fire support with them.
Yeah, and both sides starting pretty heavily on the ground. We don't see a big air cheese here right at the beginning, but the 6 US can go into air pretty well later on as well. MiG-23 MF here out to rival any A10 opener that potentially might come, but nothing like that coming around. Having an A10 plus F15 early on would be really expensive, so if you invest into MiG-23, catch an A10, that's fine. If you get chased by an F15, that's kind of fine as well, because that means the enemy has less on the ground, and the MiG-23 MFs are pretty cost efficient. at 165 points, having long-range missiles and all of that. But yeah, the big question is, will we see a big air transition from Scoof, or will Scoof just try to play the light forces here with a lot of aggression early on and try to get an advantage there, then maybe turtling later on? And the air AA units here of Hippie all deploying in the southern area, so currently the Paul point, the rear point here, relatively open. Medis engaging against the Navy SEALs. They get out of the transport, but both transports get blown up, starting to do a bit of stress on the LRS and the Navy SEAls. The 30mm grenade launchers here on the way. So the pushing power behind this in the Northport scoop is quite high, and Hippie will have to react relatively quickly if he doesn't want to lose the high rises there, and he doesn't want to get sieged heavily on Paul.
Yeah, the Alaskan Cavalry Scouts here coming in with the Recon ACAV transports. These are the cheaper option to the airborne and probably better price per value, even though you don't get a shock trade. But really, who cares? They're Cavalry Scouts. They're not supposed to be touching distance anyways. And we are once again getting into the red backpoint push. You see this sometimes, and this is generally one of the biggest like meat grinders, biggest swamps, quagmires that you have in competitive Warno. This area is so defensive. The red back point, it is so close to the spawn, and it can be pretty well like secured by putting ATGMs in the flanks and recon. This it looks so tempting, especially if you're doing infantry aggro, as Scoof is doing right now.
Coop under fire in the middle. Okay, does not get hit there. Really important. Those Coops are maybe the most important asset on the field for Hippie. Losing one to an random Ito here would have been really, really bad. We have a F-15 Eagle already in the sky, getting pushed back by the Coop that just got shot at. Coop with this much stress likely not gonna hit, but it still does good stress on miss. But yeah, Scoof now with the deep push in the north, 40mm grenade launcher there, trying to deal with the Eagler. ACAF slowly pushing forward in the north still, whilst we have a lot of T-55s now coming around. MiG-29 plus MiG-23 rivaling the Eagle in the sky. Eagle turns a bit late, eats the missiles first, gets forced back, but it's 40% ECM. Does save it for now. Doesn't get hit a single time. 40% ECM. Absolute... the absolute shield there. MiG-23 has not the greatest missiles, but not a single hit on it. That's really unfortunate for Hippie there. Whilst the M48's pushing forward. Did push the F-15 back, but didn't really gain anything from it. And now is still under pressure in the center. T-55As, they don't have the greatest range. So the AIM-2s here might be quite nice. Can bring the MiG-23 BN rocket now. That will target the helicopter. CV will get the kill there. So the zone will stay under the control of Hippie for now. That buys time to get more reinforcements in before next CV launches. That means you can give a bit of terrain without losing the whole sector immediately. The Fallschirmjägerführer under attack now as well, though, and likely gonna go down there to the heavy push of a lot of good infantry. T-55s there desperately trying to get into position. The National Guard Ito, really cheap version of the 20 damage ATGM there with good range. And no artillery here from Hippie yet. But yeah, the rocket plane, that was quite helpful. I would like to see a second coup now towards the north, and then maybe try to win the air dominance whilst also keeping the enemy away. So an Ihawk pushing really deep here on the other side. Oh, can the Conquerors get a shot? I don't think so. No, the line of sight is not there. That would have been amazing for Hippie getting a kill on that Ihawk.
Yeah, the T-55 getting taken down here. As I was saying, that this is often a fool's gold, so to speak, this backpoint here. But Procomi Scoop is doing it so well. Like the attack came harder, it came stronger than expected, and despite the Fallschirmjägerführer being in a nice position to maybe do some close defense, while the rest of the reinforcements came in, the ATGMs have been doing such great work. Now the Ihawk basically achieving supremacy for now, as you said, without artillery and without a build-up. of defensive forces. The back point is lost. There is no money. There needs to be guys hugging the right side of the back point, and Conquerors is still achieving some kind of control. Conquerors is going on a risky journey, and we know that there is nothing there to stop it. So, but Hippie doesn't really have units that can actually do anything on the rest of the map. It's all about the reinforcements. So it seems like Scoof has managed to force Hippie into a mech attack against the heavy ATGMs.
Yeah, and
Meanwhile,
I think Hippie buying attack planes instead of artillery is just like, that's just such a risky play against a division that has the strongest air dominance fighter, has Eyehawks on the ground, and is just known for being aggressive and trying to trade up early because it can't do the late game. Like, why not setting up the late game? You have a good amount of time until, but the long game is not being played by Hippie. Hippie tries to go pound for pound here, whilst being the heavier division. You talked about that game plan being a really strong one in most league games, that you try to be a bit slower. Hippie, known for being a really aggressive player, I think it's to his detriment in this matchup, though, because you outscale the enemy heavily with the amount of tanks you get, with the BMP-1 that the enemy can't mirror with any IFVs on their side, and especially with the mobile motorized artillery that you get with the Acacias, and potential rocket artillery as well, if you want to go that way.
yeah, the Motorschützen are getting caught out on the open by an AGL car and by an U.S. Army technical, the COC-V, and now Hippie's forces here are starting to trade long-range blows, while reinforcements, including heavy amounts of supply, are coming in for Scoofing and deploying artillery, pack artillery, really close. And the reinforcements from Hippie are just standard mechanized infantry with the 120 millimeter mortar to allow for the old-fashioned, which is the corner smoke trick, where the smoke can keep itself out there and technically on the position, and as long as the mortar is supplied, and of course as long as the enemy also doesn't have artillery that can kill the leader. Now, Conquerors getting out a full M35, so it's not going badly for Hippie in every regard, but this momentum here, the fact that there is both momentum and a +4 for Scoof is huge. This is maybe just
Oh, and the Ito has an angle. The Ito has an angle. The Ito gets the CV moving from the north towards the smoke. Yeah, Scoop by now has a full-on envelopment on Paul. Hippie has no momentum in the southern area. The ATGM setup there was too good, and really, he never got the Schwerpunkt setup that you want to achieve in a matchup like this, where you have just more tanks to achieve a breakthrough than the enemy can fire ATGMs at the same time, and then you just ripple smoke and get into range where your tanks can just shoot down the enemy TOW2 and ITOs reliably. Like, that's never happened. And that is the issue against a high-tech ATGM wall that the Americans can set up. Those ITOs and TOW2s love it to be 1v1. They will get your T-55 eventually, especially the ones without their own smoke. And you need to overwhelm them in numbers. And on airport, you can spread the enemy thin. And then if Hippie doesn't save up enough forces, if Hippie doesn't give up a bit of ground for getting a better concentration of forces, then that just falls flat. And the current situation here for our player in red, not looking good. Scoop in a really commanding position, and I feel like the only potential way here is hoping to get a couple of Acacias out, get a couple of good kills on the TOW2s, and then maybe get back into the ball point quick enough before the game is over on the tick. But the ITOs here still having great lines of sight, getting another hit against the T-55 here on its own. No other T-55 currently helping this one out, so the firepower is just there.
Yeah, it's Hippie is going to keep on sending like the most expensive units in his division right now against some of the most effective hard counters. And yeah, having the rocket plane to deal with an NG Ito there, immediately getting tagged by the Eyehawk. Still no heavy artillery here, considering Hippie, as you said, had the aggro stance, had the wanted to go and believe that they could go against against sixth opener in toe to toe, and that is the strength of playing something that is just slightly heavier than the enemy. That you can also try to do that. You do have the ability to do like the quick numbers, heavy Schwerpunkt, as you said, armored attacks, cheap combined arms. But unfortunately, sometimes that's that just not gonna work out. Sometimes the enemy gains too much ground. Sometimes their attack is too coordinated. They get their support equipment out too early. Now there's a 155 millimeter mortar here next to the Eyehawk, and Hippie buying his own artillery only just now, and this heavy artillery is going to be blasting. Yeah, they're already counter battering the smoke mortar, which means that the smoke is going to cut off, and the ATGMs, whatever's, are going to be able to target the SPW 40 leader.
Yeah, MTLB, it could maybe save it, but Hippie not reacting that quick. It's still reacting relatively decently. It's on the road. Okay, MTLB will get out alive. That's the great thing about the 15-point MTLB. They can even take a hit or two. And we have 152mm artillery now, finally on Hippie side as well, trying to get the Eyehawk from the rear here. Acacia artillery pieces out on the battlefield. But we could have had 2 or 3 of them on the battlefield already instead of the MiG-23 bombers that didn't achieve anything, did go down here to the good Eyehawk air defense, and yeah, really trying to duel the enemy with strike aircraft when the enemy is 6 US is just such a risky play, and it didn't pay off. And I feel like after losing a couple of T-55, like that investment into the air was just too much. Like either investing it into more ground forces or into artillery, in my eyes, would have been the better choice here. We now have the double 152mm. The question is it still in time? We got it reduced to a +2 right now, thanks to the good smoke play. So that might enable the artillery to get a bit more time here, hitting enemy ATGM positions, but Proof also rotates decently around so that you can't just kill them off immediately, and you need to follow them up a bit. Maybe targeting the airborne leader there. Yeah, okay, artillery now going for that. Getting the point back with artillery firepower, that could be a start here. As I said, would like to see maybe a rocket artillery here as well, but yeah, more focus on artillery from the get-go I think would have been a better idea. Now the position is still manageable if you get rid of the M48s, if you start to get rid of the enemy artillery as well, and start to play this as the artillery game. We still have 26 minutes here remaining, so time is still there. It's not gonna be easy, especially considering that after you get rid of all the ground units, there is still a big air wave that can be annoying against you as well.
Yeah, Barrage taking care of an AB tow and half the health of an airborne leader. Airborne leader being a massive squad of 12 men, so pretty capable of constantly resupplying and repairing itself with the supply here. And artillery.
Oh, the SPW is open, and the SPW does survive here. Is dodging into the smoke now. Airborne leader on the other side still alive as well. More 2mm artillery pieces trying to find it. Not quite on target there. Infantry of the Modschützen slowly pushing forward. M48s get dealt with, but helicopters and airplanes now coming around in force. F-15s will stop any attack aircraft coming around, and there comes the first A-10. We have a coup on the line, but that's the only AA piece here in the north. We have one more in the center. Siege plane coming in out of everything that Hippie could bring around. Okay. I don't quite get that. MiG-23 and MiG... Okay, the siege plane is just there to eat missiles, I guess. We have to focus fire now on the Eagle. Eagle once more does survive. Eyehawk once more gets the kill. Okay, Eagle does go down eventually. SU-22 does dive deep, but the Eyehawk still around, is out of ammo for now. So gives a bit of respite, but there comes the next F-15. MiG-23 way too deep. SU-22 gets out. We see the A-10 going down, so attack aircraft at least goes down. And all of that would be kinda okay. It's not great if the other MiG-23s wouldn't have been lost earlier. But this way around, it's still a pretty bad trade there for Hippie for sure. And with the ground units, with the CV going down here at the same time, back to a +4 here now for Scoof. This is looking pretty desperate, and there we see the GG. Scoof moving on to the semifinals here with a 2-0 win over Hippie. And yeah, really, really well executed 6US play here. Pushing hard, taking the risk there. Hippie with 2-3 more units towards the north. Maybe could have delayed that long enough for some reinforcements, but really the plane trades there just a bit too rough. And trying to play pound for pound air against 6US and not just fighting over your coops, over your Strellas, that's just a bit too aggressive, I think, to really ever work out.
Hippie's opener was so like centered on the southeastern portion of the map, and just which is the I guess that if you want to build up like a large wide front line that can't necessarily be struck by the kind of airborne attacks and supported by the planes that we saw, and unfortunately, Scoof just completely committed into the most difficult attack. And when he realized that there was a bit like there was like two special forces squads and two 30mm machine guns, but just with the right unit combination, the right engagements, the cavalry scouts, and the transports doing amazing work there. And Hippie didn't have the units in position, didn't have the units that could be like transported from the other parts of the map, and Scoof just absolutely knew what he was doing, just completely straight up. There was barely any mistakes in his gameplay, and every new unit buy was obviously the correct one when Hippie just kept on trying to both just keep up a standard front line and also, as you said, commit to the air game. And I just don't think I think the commitment to the air game could have been pretty valid if Hippie had been given extra 5 more minutes. Getting the MiG-29s out in 2v1 against the F-15s, having some coups out there on the ground, and just making sure that the enemy is never gonna be confident enough to invest too much into the airplay. But I mean, Scoof just won the infantry assault, and after that, there was no way Hippie could be able to build up anything, let alone a wide front line. And as we saw, you know, even the early coup buys had to be moved from the other part of the map, all around, getting targeted by ITOs that on airport ATGMs get such great positions that not having a reliable way early on to deal with them when they're such a key unit, not having an extra Acacia that you can fire at a tower or a building that you know there's going to be something anyway there, that means that those ATGMs are just gonna get kills eventually, and that is why the KDR looks like the way it does.
Yeah, job really well done. Scoof, moving on to the semifinal, will meet the winner of Stardekk versus 40 Defense. We'll figure out tomorrow there. And that brings us to the next quarterfinals game here in Division 1. Stardekk versus Tmanplays, where we will see if we lose the final streamer of Division 1 or if Tmanplays can keep the honor of the streamers up and move towards the finals one more time. As we're gonna go there into another best of 3. So quick break, guys, and then we're gonna be back with the second best of 3 of the day. And yep, see you all there in a second. And here we go. Game number 2. Stardekk versus Timon. First map, Mount River. First pick of Stardekk, 11th ACAF. Bans, Mnet, 56, DivMob. Second Band Grenadier, 20th Sena. And first Canadian. Classic bans here for this season. And 11th ACAF here as Stardekk favored. Whilst Timon on Mount River might remember his loss in the last season's final against that specific division, against Pro Commie, and brings around the 27th guards here. And this should be an interesting one, as we have Stardekk's favorite unit already deployed, the Kiowa Warrior, coming around here. We have M1A1 Abrams together with M1A1 ACAF and a Bradley here, so really aggressive opener here. Not an air opener, but rather classic strong recon forces plus support helicopters from 11 ACAF. On the other side, a pretty standard force of units here. The MI-24K, really risky to open with when you know that the other side has the OH-58C, so I wonder how well that one will fare here. Plus we have Rajvetkas, a good couple of BMP3s. I'm interested to see the BMP3 on this map. I don't think this is a great BMP3 map. I think this is a pretty fine BMP2 map, and the BMP3s are greater later on into the middle, but for 100 points currently, they are pretty expensive for the opener, and they don't fare well when the enemy can get into gun range against them, especially with M1A1s. So this is a bit worrisome. I like the Tunguska. The Tunguska is going to be really important. Igla is going to be really important, and the Conquerors and so on are nice as well. It seems like Stardekk should get more territory here, but investing into so many special forces means that holding ground for him is not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's this is an all-in in its most clear meaning. The ACAB Bradley are going to be out there as a nominal fighting line that will keep up the ground pressure and the ground fire control, while the actual damage is being done by the Kiowa Warriors, which are more mobile and can exploit the fact that 27th isn't the fastest division to open. We can see T-Man is using those Rasvedkas, standard Rasvedkas, to kind of screen the enemy. The big scary thing, I think, is that T-Man's infantry is all getting invested into the middle in a kind of a counter all-in, and that means that they are going to fast move through an area that is targetable at least by the Kiowa Warriors, possibly even by the ACAV in some cases here. And as you said about the BMP3, and we're getting 2 BMP3s here, if they are in perfect positions, they can stun lock on long range, and ACAV, they're good against the Bradleys, but that's about it. Their real firepower is in HE, and there is barely any HE coming out here from the Stardekk opener. Stardekk's name referencing an overconfident claim of victory, which I consider, I think it's funny.
Me24K here, moving forwards. We see OH-58Cs, SS moving up towards the front line here as well. Kiowa Warrior moving forward. LRS being pushed back. But the M24K has to run now. Yeah, sees the OHs, needs to get the hell out of dodge. Kiowa Warriors firing 2 missiles at the same Rajvetka and losing line of sight. That's a good start for Team situation here. Kiowa not getting the next missile fired. Okay, there we go. More missiles somewhat wasted here. They get it eventually, but that's a lot of missiles shot. Team has to get out the other units. Ooh, both units get out alive. Both Conquerors get out alive. Under fire by an M1A1 ACAF though. And then M1A1 ACAF is going to be pretty annoying to deal with now. As we pointed out before, the BMP3s need to stay on long range, and they're getting too close already. They are on gun range already. The Conquerors in a bad spot here as well. So the center zone likely going to be given up here to...
Oh no, the
MiG-29... The F-16 plus AA choppers getting the MiG shut down there immediately. B-24K rotating north. Has to be careful of the F-16 around though. We have Tunguskas around. We now have a lot of ATGMs flying towards the M1A1. Stun locking it there. B-24K flying still around in the north. And F-16C here coming around. MTLBU moving around. Bradley pushing forward. As it seems like the position here currently quite decent for the forces of Stardekk. Stardekk pushing forward towards the BMP3. Demon smoking off here. +2 tick up. More units pushing north. Oh, OH-58 hunting the MiG-24K. It's not landed. It's only flying low. So it goes down there. KPV moving around as well. Bradley opening up against the Conquerors in the middle as well. Got a BMP3 there killed off as well. And M1A1 pushing deep in the north. Gets the ground there. Bradley rotating around. M1A1 ACAF coming back. Bradley doing a really good job there. Conquerors and the infantry under fire. And we have GG screen, which is a surrender here from Team, realizing that that opener wasn't it. And yeah, it was a classic Team opener, planning for the next step a bit too early. And often that works out. Often it looks like he's losing and then he can grab back from it. This time around, Team not feeling it and tapping out already as, yeah, 27th is reliant on its combined arms. And if that starts falling apart, you are in a really, really bad spot. So early surrender here from our player in red and early 1-0 lead here for Stardekk in the series, already on match points after not even 3 minutes of game time.
Yeah, I mean, this was the all-in work, so to speak. I mean, even though the Kiowa Warriors didn't get amazing kills here, mostly trucks and cars, the fact that there was nothing to immediately challenge the Bradley and Abrams control over the middle, that the T-Man didn't manage to kill any of the Kiowa Warriors, and already didn't even do damage to the F-16, which would have been out there with all of that air defense and with probably more airplane reinforcements in case T-Man wanted to keep buying more fighters to challenge those Kiowa Warriors. The fact that T-Man's first minute buy was a T80BV, which is a full minute's income, and that there was nothing, that there was still like the two Hellfires and the ACAB and the Bradley and incoming reinforcements and probably long range surveillance as spotters. Yeah, I get it. I get it from T-Man's part. That was a pretty bad walloping. And as I said, I am excited to see Stardekk play in these games. I think Stardekk has a Stardekk has a mean streak that he uses to discover these strategies, and T-Man just running completely around T-Man here.
Yeah, the BMP3s, the Mi-24K, and the MiG-29, they're all misinvestments in my book. And that just then started to get the losses that they deserve. The Tunguska not quite in a point to deal with the helicopters. The helicopters actually not that effective, the Kiowa Warriors. And if Teeman would have had a bit more forces there, I think the situation in the center, maybe with a T80 around, with the two BMP2s instead of BMP3s around, like you can slowly push back there. But the forces were just expensive glass cannons that all don't work well against the more aggressive, more forward division of the 11th ACAF. That also brings the OH-58C that just makes the Mi-24K and the MiG-29 pretty impotent. And yeah, quick victory here. Short break, guys. And we're going to be back with the second one, seeing if Stardekk can maybe get another lightning victory here, or if T-Man can get his so solid ground play on the board and maybe don't do a T-Man opener here. And here we go, another Kiowa Warrior division coming in for Stardekk, but this time around with not as much support as it's for the direct aggression. And teaming with a heavy division again that is a bit reliant on combined arms, but with more forward deployment. But before we jump in there, guys, once more, quick shout out to the Matcherino page where you can support funding the tournament. And all you have to do is going over to the link, click the claim code button. 18 codes still remaining, adding free money to the prize pool. And you can also contribute directly. Big shout out once more to Brian Wolf here coming in later with another $100 contribution to the prize pool. Much appreciated. And yeah, let's get back into the action here. 8th US, this time as the counter pick to T-Man's 119th Guards. And I find that a peculiar counter pick on Vertigo, which is a heavy division map that wants you to have heavy divisions for forward deployment, which 119 does tick perfectly, but 8th US doesn't really tick that, especially in this game matchup. So, what do you think about this 8th US pick here? Why does it come? Is it really just the Kiowa Warrior?
I think it's a combination of the Kiowa Warrior, the TOW 2, the M1A1 Abrams, and the fact that in the late game, if it comes down to infantry fights, there's way more infantry with the 8th. 8th so very rarely gets to play against divisions that are more expensive or clunkier than it is. And 119th is it is the heaviest pack division, and it compensates for the fact that it is so slow and clunky, for the fact that it does get the Spetsnaz GRU, it gets standard Spetsnaz units as well. So if it wants to do an infantry attack with the most amount of damage that the pack infantry can do. It can do that. It just cannot keep it up. And this means that 119th is the division where you have to constantly be making decisions, important decisions from the very start, and any one of them could basically crash your game. But fortunately, T-Man is the guy who always makes the right decisions, and 119th being a T-Man old-fashioned special here, and doing the very standard full-on southern lane mech blob strategy, which basically gives the enemy the rule over the map, and at the expense of T-Man basically getting the ability to always fight against a weaker opponent and concentrating the forces. Now, Stardekk here opening with 2 planes, including a very dangerous F-16 cluster plane, and with the Kiowa Warriors and the LRS spotting, just a single like kill here could be a reasonably big deal, especially, but not just because all the units are so stacked up together, but T-Man has like T-Man is should be very feared and respected playing against this. I think Stardekk is gonna be in a pretty weird corner where he's gonna be able to keep up a tick when it comes to the
Ooh,
point.
SC-27 coming in, airfight coming out, and Stardekk maybe stayed around a bit too long, had this F-16 coming in a bit too late, and loses all 3 planes without getting a single one on the other side. Perfect engagement taken there by T-Man, getting rewarded there. Stardekk just a bit out of cohesion, and the SC-27 goes through like a knife through butter, cutting through the F-16s, and that is a massive, massive win, and that, yeah, T-Man making the right choices after the game started. Not maybe the right choice, once more really, really bold choice of a double T-80U start here. Like that starting deployment looked dicey again, but with the triple kill in the sky, this game is swung heavily, heavily in the favor of T-Man, and this should now be a pretty easy to maneuver through early game for our player in red. And when the early game comes easy to T-Man, the enemy is in big, big trouble, because few, if any, players are better in the mid and late game than our player on the red side here.
Yeah, and as I was saying, like I think Stardekk is going to be in a weird position where it's going to have a tick, +1 tick or +2 or 3 tick even, but it's still going to have to be playing aggro because T-Man's force is so concentrated that Stardekk just can't allow a standard slow build-up all around the map. This force needs to be challenged. T-Man is otherwise just going to keep trading up. And yeah, the LRS and the TOW were the northern part of the concave. The southern part of the concave, you have the M150s, and there was a center with the Abrams. But T-Man just completely bypassing it. T-Man is not walking into the trap. Maybe actually, I'm just going to check. No, actually, T-Man doesn't have vision on anything here, so this is all largely vibes. Now the M150s are getting spotted by the Spetsnaz GRU when Stardekk is recognizing that the trap is not going to be sprung. T-Man's reinforcements are just standard. There is finally a recon vehicle to spot the northern part of the map with some infantry moving in here to reinforce the blob. And even an OP Spetsnaz is the 80 infantry unit that's going to be holding the entry point. But yeah, so far, T-Man has not lost anything, and Stardekk is just trying to reinforce the entire map with, I guess it's going to be like Abrams is in the middle that are going to be the linchpin of the strategy.
Yeah, CV finally moving towards the north there will start a tick, but T-Man looks to be about ready to start a push towards the south. We have 2 M150s here on the southern flank, but their TOW ATGMs, the original TOW ATGMs, don't do much against the T80U. Even a side hit is only annoying and dealing good damage, but not one-shot potential. So those units there have to be really careful. If they get shot at, they will blow up quickly, and they don't really bring the biggest threat. No TOW 2s yet on the front line. One coming up there, and another one being bought. But without those, holding off the T80Us here is going to be a really big issue. They outperform the M1A1 by 1 penetration and 1 frontal armor and 1 hit point. So 1v1 trades, the M1A1 is going to have a pretty tough time there. And this flanking maneuver here now towards the south is great. With airplanes, this could be punished nicely, but we saw those already go down. SU-27 above all of this now, and yeah, that's the danger of playing airplanes against Horde 90. They have some of the best fighters in the game with the MiG-29 and the SU-27, and the amount of each they can bring. And if you get caught out off guard there and start losing your attack aircraft, then the ground game becomes really, really bad.
Yeah, so here we can see even more reinforcements from Stardekk here, just kind of passive defensive units, recon and TOS, as you said. Another F-16 cluster is diving in here as the Kiowa Warrior is repositioning into the middle. But oh no, the Su-27 gets a win here. There is an I-Hawk, and the I-Hawk gets a hit against the Su-27, which is almost running out of fuel, but
next one already up.
Surviving.
F-16 trying to come in. Good rotation there by Tman. Next I-Hawk shot coming out. Yeah, gets the hit there. F-16 being pushed out. Both sides being pushed back. And the M1A1s here on the ground not having a good day. We have the TOW2 being isolated as well. And the situation here currently not looking all that promising for Stardekk. One M1A1 already shut down. The TADUs on the other side now getting resupplied. So not under any danger of being hunted down. The +2 is up, but Stardekk will have to hold on to the south here for a good while longer until he really gets a point lead that has any meaningful advantage here.
Yeah, the Stardekk now investing into an M110, like this is mega defensive. This is not even trying to get a tank blob up, just trying to fight this on, just trying to hold as long as possible. Like if you as if there's new viewers in the chat, driving away that F-16 cluster and forcing it to repair just for the moment, in my opinion, completely worthwhile risking that fighter and even taking that hit. Because right now, as T-Man's tanks are going over the top, there is not a lot of organic air defense. There are 2 Tunguskas, but they couldn't actually prevent the cluster bombs from dropping. So keeping away enemy planes, keeping away those threats allows for the tanks to actually go out there and apply some real pressure. And considering Stardekk's buys, just buying defensive units, artillery, recon, this is Stardekk wants time. Stardekk is on a +2, and just not having the cluster plane to punish this attack here is a big problem for him.
Yeah, Ranger leaders here under fire, LRS trying to hold the line. The issue of low numbers of infantry on Vertigo, not as important for the division. So even targeting the enemy infantry and making them try to run out of infantry, not as viable as an option as it is on other maps, where if you get rid of the Spetsnaz and a couple of the Motostrelkis, the thing becomes really tough. Contesting towns becomes really tough, because contesting towns not really the issue on this map. You have to win the fights around the towns, and that is currently happening for Warrant 19th. Artillery coming in towards the TOW2, getting a good hit there. TOW2 team taken out, second one under fire. MR10 on the other side, trying to hold back the infantry, but the TADUs are the issue, and they keep on racking up kills, and no real danger on them currently, so they can just keep up generating value here. Helicopters coming around for them as well. BRM-1K moving up. KO-55s moving in to create the front line in front of all of this. Once the next artillery comes up, next TADU on the battlefield, that means we have 3 TADUs versus 1 M1A1 on the other side. So the armored gameplay here in the south for Stardekk really rough. He is 300 points up now, and if you can make India an absolute fortress, that could be a win condition here. But I just don't see how that can happen in time here before the TADUs and the TO-55s can set up the push, especially not without any air threat remaining from Stardekk's forces.
Yeah, the second Masta is coming out for T-Man now, and every TOW2 on the ground, every infantry unit is simply a single Masta salvo away from not existing. Like the second heavy artillery buy, the second M110 for Stardekk, it's not it. I think our boy needs more tanks, and that's it is like 15 points cheaper than an M1A1, so I think probably should have had the points to get that. Just buying more TOW2s as the enemy artillery has already made them kind of obsolete. The Spetsnaz GRU and the BRM for T-Man are both radar recon units, which means that they get the extra level of recon that standard recon infantry do not get. And this means that there's basically an inherent advantage here for T-Man in trying to smoke out all those units. And besides, as long as T-Man pays attention and keeps his units supplied, every time an ATGM gets fired from a position, the T-Man can just smoke it and order one of the Masta batteries to take it out.
Yeah, Ihawk here under fire now as well. That is really, really bad. And it's likely gonna go down. Yeah, there we go. TOW2 now under fire in the south from the other one. So the situation here deteriorating. And TOW2 teams here really a dangerous one to play with. I feel like the TOW2 vehicles, yeah, there we go. M901s would have been a better idea together with M1A1s. Like, you want the M1A1s to be the primary target of the enemy tanks and then have a couple of TOW2s coming in out of your vehicles, because coordinating your TOW2 teams on the ground so that they actually can make threatening shots that the TADU could die to together with your M1A1s, that is really hard to achieve because your TOW2s are so slow and they also are prime artillery targets. So as long as T-Man can maneuver and has space to maneuver, and he had that the whole game, those two teams are not really danger. If they get a hit against the M1, the TADU, they can just smoke off, repair, and come back later. And in the meantime, the TOW2 team will have a rough time surviving. And yeah, it just looks pretty rough. Tick is stopped, 420 points. That is an okay point number on some maps like Black Forest or so. On Vertigo, it's not really that big, and especially not with 28 minutes remaining for the other side to push into India or start rotating north. And the trades here, so bad currently for Stardekk. But the next artillery salvo being prepared here from the M110s towards the TADUs.
Yeah, the fact that the TADUs have all survived and are all basically running out of fuel because they've been driving around so much, represents how well this has gone for T-Man. T-Man, once again, it's about the risky usage of a small amount of very heavy and often quite specialized units. And so far, Su-27, check. Spetsnaz GRU, check. T-80, check. Even the artillery, check. Everything's just going up T-Man right now.
Yeah, the M110s here coming around, trying to kill off the TADU, not finding the shots. The TADUs have way too much room for maneuver because they can just move into the open field if necessary to dodge artillery. And like, artillery only becomes really helpful against those kind of units when the enemy is under threat and has to avoid open fields, has to keep a specific point, or you can move into open space elsewhere, but there is no threat coming out of the other the frontline ground units of Stardekk right now. So the M110s just have a really hard time finding any shots, as their damage is great, but the reload time and their aim time is pretty long as well, so they just don't generate anything here. And Stardekk now really low on forces to actually hold the front line. We still have 3 M1A1s, but considering the 3, or right now, no, it's 3 TADUs on the front line, more units coming in, more BMP1s here, moving towards it, a UD coming in that it's up the frontal armor even higher and outclasses the M1A1 even further. Iowa Warrior coming around, but with the Tunguska and all, that shouldn't be an issue either. And there, the Master B has done a fantastic job here, using that advantage of keeping pressure on the enemy, forcing them to be stationary with their units, and just eliminating the eye down to the M110, but that's about the highest achievement that the artillery currently can get for Stardekk. And TADUs now moving towards India. This is going to be the key point here now. If Stardekk can maybe find some kills here, this might still go on. If India falls in the next 5-6 minutes, the game likely is just going to be over.
Yeah, the Tunguskas are not out there in the front lines, so the Kaiba Warrior is getting some free kills here, and Spetsnaz GRU is getting smoked off at long range, is getting blasted off at long range. Now, the M1 Abramses
Oh,
are...
reinforcement SU-77 in the south actually achieves the double kill. Only one plane down. If one SU-27 was a bit lucky there for Teamman, but the reinforcing one just came in time. F-16 cluster being pushed back right after as well. So the air attempt here, and maybe the final air attempt here of Stardekk failing once more, losing both F-16 fighters there. Has no ground AA anymore to help out against the Su-27s either, outside of a pivot that is about to be hit by a Motostrelki. So yeah, that's down as well. And the Motostrelki flank here is so threatening as well, because that's the best line of sight for the ATGM units for the M1A1s. But if the M1A1s have to worry about getting sideshot by an 18 damage RPG 7VL and then being pushed by the TDUs, their life is going to be a hell as well.
Yeah, the M1A1s in the forest here with the ITV and TOW2, which ITV is also a TOW2, including the Kaiwa Warrior. This here is the hope for Stardekk, and Motostrelki are already getting close to this. There is no infantry in position, so the Motostrelki are gonna get up, not a side shot, but pretty close to a side shot here, destroying that truck. Rangers will be able to fight this off, but it's still driving the Abramses into a really tight corner.
Yeah, the TDU gets the M901. Kaiwa Warrior here, desperately trying to achieve something, gets the BMP, but the TDUs with good smoke micro here out of Teeman. Tunguska pushing forward, Kaiwa Warrior gets strafed down by the SU. Motostrelki here, pushing in from the flanks, SU-27s doing good job in the air, and Rangers under fire, likely gonna be hit by the Master. No, Master not firing yet, but the M1A1's not able to get any kills on the TADUs. As long as the supply comes flowing in for Teeman, those will be back in the action really soon, and the Motostrelkis start dealing some damage against the M1A1s, and Stardekk can't even afford supply trucks at this point, so even small damage against the M1A1s is lasting damage against the M1A1s right now, meaning that the situation there with more Motostrelkis and the next KDU push is not going to be any easier.
Yeah, this is the Motostrelki, Zero with Motostrelki, not capable of fighting the Rangers really, or the tanks, but just another wave of forces have already landed for T-Man. T-Man is probably happy to keep on sending those Motostrelki there, just to have that infantry angle in this attack. The infantry angle is something Stardekk is going to have to deal with. It's going to prevent Stardekk from actually expanding and building up a larger concave of using the position currently held by the Motostrelki and the BMPs as a way of transporting the M1A1s into the enemy flank. None of that is happening, and T-Man is happy to sacrifice some Zero Motostrelki for this purpose. And yeah, now that the Abramses, they lost one of them in the latest engagements. Now, once again, F-16 cluster is coming out. I believe this is the second, aka last cluster. It still has not got its bombs out, and is getting hounded by the two Su-27s taken out finally. One of the key units that could have actually had its last few bombing runs done damage, there could be like 2 or 3 less TADUs. And that is the power of T-Man's early game decision making, and frankly the miscontrol of Stardekk with those planes, sending them needlessly close to the enemy and getting taken out.
Yeah, TDU and UD here now pushing deeper. Spetsnaz GRU a bit behind it. BRM1K now trying to catch up as well. TDU's starting to get some line of sight here, finding the M1A1s as well. One TDU there getting side-shotted, and the Rangers still holding out nicely, but Mi-24 rocket artillery all around. Ooh, one TDU does go down here in that push. TOW2 and M1A1s actually doing a decent job here on the flank, but the Motostrelki is now pushing for them. The Mi-24 rocket about to get the helmet if it pushes a bit closer and gets up the hill. So the repair is not going to be super easy here for Stardekk either, and with the M1A1s now being in a spot where they can't come back to engage. The forces of Team can take out the infantry and then just take the ground. They don't have to trade super efficiently right now. They just have to gain the ground and then settle down there. But the Motostrelkis keep away the M1A1s. Hammett not in position to repair even right now. The ADUs getting rotated back. So far, better trades for Stardekk in this specific fight, but Motostrelkis might just change that by killing M1A1s in the forest. Though they are pretty stressed out, so the accuracy is not going to be amazing with the RPGs. But they get a hit here, M1A1 stunned down. Is trying to run away. Helicopter opening up against the TOW2. TOW2 goes down.
Brother, the Hempt is not supplying fuel, so the Abrams is gonna run out of fuel in just a second. It may actually get caught out in the open against the Motostrelky there.
Yeah, it's about to get stuck there in a second. Hammett here also not moving right now, so yeah, 0 fuel now. Hammett not supplying fuel, not supplying ammunition, just here for the repair. Means that this M1A1 is stuck. It gets repaired. Motostrelkis pushing forward. TDU gets another shot against an M1A1. M1 number 2 down to 1 hit point as well. Motostrelkis will get another RPG shot out. We don't find the kill just yet. Get routed for now. Masters could find the final kills though. And there we see one M1A1 going down through the TADU on the low ground. Hammett still alive, but the push into the zone was successful. +4 about to start here as the zone is captured. And once the zone is captured, you have no potential to push back into it. As Stardekk here, your HGM units, the M901s, are quite nice on the defense, but not on their own against the ATGM tanks on the other side, and not without, they don't have any push potential. And that is the big issue. So the Rangers here, the final lifeline, keeping the road open, but with the Mi-24s being resupplied quickly here, and with their strong 122mm rockets, those special forces get eliminated. The ADBVK gets gunned down finally, the M110s with a great find there. But at the same time, the Abrams doesn't get refueled still, gets smoked right now, but Stardekk hasn't quite figured out what the issue there actually is. But the Mi-24B rocket gets pushed back. M1A1 completely isolated. Next one on the way, but we still have a lot more TADUs on the other side. And there we go. First M901 goes down in the duel against the TADU. TADU smokes off right after. T055s pushing in. Ooh, the M1A1 actually might have an okay engagement there, as it's only T055s pushing it right now, and it has a good line of sight, a decent fighting distance there as well, and the infantry helped out with good stuns. So this one might actually be the last hurrah of this M1A1 that is stuck on the high ground. Whilst the Hammett still refuses to give it any fuel. And yeah, mech rifles here helping out. +4 ticks on, getting really close to getting T-Man ahead. S-22s, 7s and MiG-29s keep the air clean. M1A1 still continues winning this fight here, pushes the TO-55s back, but the tick about to reach to the point where T-Man is going to win. And now the M1A1, the isolated M1A1, gets found by the helicopters, will get taken out. Then the TO-55s can come back. And Hammett about to go down there as well. Pivots opening up against the infantry. Mi-24s get the kill. TO-55s and co. pushing forward. Helicopter goes down. There's just way too much muscle on the red side now. The early game just went way too smooth for T-Man, and the micro of the TADUs, well done. Never risking them, and there we go. GG is called. Stardekk surrendering game 2, and we have the decider game coming up here as T-Man decisively wins game number 2 here, bringing it back to an equal scoring.
Yeah, it's the Vertigo is a decisive battle sort of a map, especially when it comes to expensive divisions such as these. Vertigo, as you said, the southern lane became the area that everybody fought over. People have been fighting on that area with these divisions for about as long as this game has been around, since early access even. And there is a lot of experience that both people like Stardekk and T-Man have in executing this kind of stuff. And I think the cluster plane really could have been the weapon to actually stop T-Man. Like T-Man's Tunguskas were constantly a little bit too far on the back line. And that's probably partly because he also knew that he had the MiG-21s and the Su-27s to actually achieve the air supremacy. But there is an alternate reality here where Stardekk did the early game just a little bit differently and got a single good engagement and a single key kill. And from that single key kill, Stardekk could have been taking a more aggressive stance from the early on and started countermassing the M1A1s. Now with the relative air supremacy, that could have been like Stardekk could have felt safe doing that and could have felt safe taking further engagements. But instead, we saw like turtle maxing. We saw TOTU after TOTU after TOTU after recon, and even the artillery going out there in numbers. While taking significant money away from the tank investments, and I think I think Stardekk kind of got shook, and the strategy picked for the later game was just not it. You can see the T-ATUs that after when they're stayed alive for all the game, like they get so many different kills, and these are only the kills. This is not counting in the damage that these vehicles did not, to mention the suppression damage that they could do, forcing the enemy to abandon positions. So, yep, T-Man still the king of 1/19th.
Yeah, job well done here. And it's going to be interesting to see what we get in game number 3 here, as that is going to be a really hot matchup as well. 101st Airborne versus 25th Tankovi on Chandra. So a really balanced map, open spaces, balanced points, no middle points. So forward deployment advantages of 101st, they're not really given. But T-Man is really good with that division. It got buffed quite a bit. 25th, a bit of a slower, but quite strong division as well. So I don't expect Stardekk to rush it there and try to get the finishing blow to T-Man in the first couple of minutes like he did in the last 2 games. So I would expect a bit more longer game potential there. And really excited. Quick break, guys, and then we're going to be back with the decider game here. Both divisions picked blindly here against each other for the first time that plays a role. And yeah, let's see who will get that game on Chandra. And here we go, decider game of the quarterfinals for Stardekk versus Tmanplays, and 25th versus 101st. Gonna be really exciting. Before I jump in, really quick shout out, guys. Come on, use the claim code button. No usage yet so far registered today, guys. Let's get some free money into the prize pool by the claim code button up there, guys. And yeah, let's get back into the action now and see how Stardekk and Demon will approach this, because I think this is a absolutely fantastic matchup. I love the map. I love the lighter division with higher quality, higher technology units versus the mid-tier tank with T64s and a good amount of DMP2s and moderate shotgun and so on, but nothing super high tech outside of a good fire support artillery tab that, if 101st ever gets complacent and stays local, can devastate them.
Yeah, it's the 25th is it's a division that doesn't need infantry recon. You can just blob your tanks from the very start. You can also have recon tanks. You can, of course, have your infantry and ground recon and your Rasvedka BMP recon, all of that stuff. But if you don't want to, you can also just buy a UAV that's going to drive above all the dangerous forested and urban terrain, telling you whether you can take ground with your tanks or not. This gives it this and the especially the forward deployment recon tanks here give it an excellent tempo that even though its tanks aren't as high quality as some, it can bring them out and use them to the maximum right at the start. And Chandra being a very slow map, all of these points are 1 point. The reinforcement roads are not that long, And also, there are no backpoints. There's no immediate penetration that you can achieve. So generally, when we see aggro on this map, we see infantry aggro go either to the side points where they try to take, let's say, Shariton or Elena or Anna, or we see the infantry aggro trying to take the middle town and using the middle town, basically move relatively safely to threaten Boris and Center or Gregory or Fedor, any of those points via infantry. These are pretty predictable, and you can't necessarily mix these strategies up. So if you're going to do one, you're not going to do the other one, meaning enemy players are going to have an easier time responding to what you're doing. And looking at this, we're seeing T-Man do basically try to get into the Shariton area, deploying infantry into the corner of this long-range defenses around it. The Humvee toes will be more than enough to secure.
But the also, big question point is, where is the rest of the points of Stardekk? Yeah, I was wondering. Like, we don't see many ground units here. We see an SU-27 coming. There are SU-25s here. Like, this is an air cheese, isn't it? Because
it's some kind of a cheese right here, I think. It has to be. There's just not enough points.
There must be SU-25 coming in. I was checking if I didn't, if I for sure did unpause the game. I was pretty sure I did. I just wanted to make sure that okay, no, it's, what? Okay, I guess he expected an air spam from the other side then. Or heli, like a heli rush from the other side. And wanted to have enough open for second fighter. Okay, so it was an SU-27 with the potential for a second SU-27. Okay, interesting tempo hit here for Stardekk. But his Mi-24V rocket has potential for a good amount of damage against the Deltas here nonetheless. Humvee Deltas, if you have two of them at the Mi-24, they actually could potentially even win. But 1 versus 1, the Humvee Delta will lose, and it does get the unload last second, but the unload won't keep the Deltas alive. First one there going down, Delta in the middle. Might get a kill on the Matrachvetka. Oh, reveals itself.
Now
Mi-24 dives deep. Arrow Stinger. And they unload in time. Oh no, this could be devastating. Humvee tow here. And a lot of infantry and Humvees. Okay, disengaging. Okay, there we go. Stinger gets the hit. But it enables the deep lane here. The deep push for the T-64s into center. So really interesting angle here of the push for Stardekk. Ooh, Humvee Delta, can it find maybe the kill here on the Mi-24 on the retreat? Gets to open up a bit, but no. Loses range there. Green Berets coming around. T-64 trying to drive by. Oh no, the goat! The supply goat runs into the Matrachvetka. The Matrachvetka might nearly even get a second kill there. Okay, gets the Humvee kills. And the Humvee tow is way too close. Needs to get the heck out of there. But T-64 now can fire on all of these units. All of these units caught out in the open. The Humvee tow got caught out there as well. Next, Mi-24K coming in against the Deltas. Stingers not maneuverable enough to protect them. So the Humvee Delta, the Deltas there go down as well. Humvee Delta loses against the Mi-24. And the T-64s get 3 infantry units for free. A classic team in air opener here once more, it seems like. Green Beret gets dived on by the SU-27. No fighter here around for T-Man to protect this. The Green Berets need to get out of that helicopter as the SU-27 is coming around again. Okay, there comes the F-15 with the side angle. Is faster than the SU-27, so the SU-27 can't really run. Runs about over a Stinger as well. That might be the chance for a first kill here. SU-27 doesn't actually get hit though. And there comes the second SU-27 around, and now it's 2 versus 1. So the F-15 tries to get out, but does get hit, does get killed. Lucky times for Stardekk with the RNG there, but also good investment there in the second SU-27. And all of the engagements here going currently terribly wrong for T-Man, and the only slight hope here is that he currently has a decent amount of territory on the map, but he needs to stabilize the front line ASAP.
Yeah, individual 1v1 engagements with the Deltas, especially, or Air Rifles Dragon, are probably going to go for T-Man just because of a higher quality of units. But that attack into center, that helicopter being able to just do all that free damage and giving the tempo and giving the momentum for the T-64 Razvedkas to just push through here, this is huge. Like there are not that many bombers in 101st, and the bombers are bad. So you want to be using Apache helicopters for your ground attack purposes, or Kiowas even. But T-Man didn't invest in any of those because T-Man wanted a wide Delta Force infantry frontline. And now we're seeing there are a lot of good fighters, and the Phantoms are good fighters, and the Phantoms are coming out here trying to secure some kind of a air supremacy against this Su-27 so that the Apaches can be brought out and safely to challenge these. But meanwhile, fighting the T-64 Razvedkas with only random infantry units and stingers on the ground is not going to work out. The Apache ATGM is the key on T-Man now surviving and starting to trade up. If T-Man starts to trade up, T-Man can start doing small infantry counterattacks all around the map here. But there's already another MiG. So with one MiG and one Su-27 going against two Phantoms, that's not the best deal. Oh no, they're getting a bad engagement. The Soviets are firing first.
The Stingers at least helped out though. Ground Stingers in the fire there, getting one. Can they get the second one? One more Stinger flying. Does miss. Okay, it's a 1-1 trade. That's cost-wise decent for the Phantoms. The Apache does get hit by the Eagle on the ground though. That Eagle being able to push with the T-64s is devastating right now for T-Man, enabling the T-64s to go towards the Green Berets. And if there would be a second infantry with the Green Beret, I would say the Green Beret has a decent chance of holding this, but on its own, it's likely going to get stunned down, and it doesn't have enough firepower there to kill these units frontally, so it needs a helicopter or something, but nothing is around there to help it out. So the most expensive infantry unit here in trouble. It pushes back the T-64s for now. They actually disengage there out of it. They could take in the fight, but yeah, the Green Beret out of ammo now. Maybe, yeah. Stardekk will realize that in a second. Okay, has it now moving forward again. Mi-24K pushing forward as well. There is enough Stinger action now going on. Oh no, but the Apache is still flying. And the Stingers coming in a bit late.
Destroying the supply of the Apache, forcing it to stay down right as the Apache landed just the last second.
The MiG-29 goes down. So that is an important kill. The MP2K moving around. As we have more units moving around as well. And I have no idea what exactly happened with my microphone. If it just switched microphones.
Yeah, it's this has been happening a little bit. Every once in a while you go robotic for a second and then your like voice balance changes. Oh, here we can see an Aero TOW-2 actually getting out the supply. So no immediate supply coming in for the Razvedka tanks. Immediately Stardekk is buying a helicopter transport there, but there are Stingers around the place. And now with another Apache, this is an Apache ATAS, which has both the Hellfires and anti-air Stinger missiles. Now, this is exactly the unit you want to have around here, so it can also support your airplanes in fights. Helicopter anti-air missiles are very strong in this game. The problem is that there is a very dangerous looking Biryusa AA vehicle. Apache does outrange it and engages it and does get the kill. Very important here if T-Man wants to get back into the game. ATGM Apache is finally repairing with the second supply Black Hawk coming in. And yeah, so far it's just Motoras Vetkas for the most of the map here for Stardekk, but the massive amounts of recon working together while also contesting for that air supremacy. This is speaking of which, diving again, this time against the Apache ATAS that just got tagged by the Igla. But yeah, this is it could be that Stardekk is just burning too bright here. It's just
oh, and he gets the F-15s with the Su-27 and both the MiG-29. Oh, this is so unfortunate. Air RNG there, really bad for T-Man. Two Apaches have to disengage. Neither the ATAS nor the Stingers getting any kills there. That is devastating. That is just really, really unfortunate for T-Man, and that makes the life for Stardekk now a lot easier. The T-64s are still alive, so I don't think he's burning to Pride. As long as those T-64s around center hold the line, as long as they can keep up the take, he is in a great spot. The Deltas now in the rear, they might get caught. One UWAT's getting bought, the Rashetka getting killed off, but I think Stardekk already realized what's going on there. Next unit might, being bought there, BMP2 on the hunt, and he can just bring a helicopter maybe around again there for the rear line. The MiG-27s and Su-27s winning, the MiG-29s and Su-27s winning the air war. Devastating for T-Man. Has another F-15 coming in, but it's another 2v1. The ATAs not in the right alignment to fire their stingers. The stingers on the ground not helping either. And the Su-27 gets the kill again. Ground stingers trying their best, but we see the GG being called here. The air war lost. And yeah, with that, we have the GG, and I have no idea what's going on with my microphone, guys. I will try to lower it manually. Yeah, okay. I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah, I've been just getting my sounds louder and more quiet depending on what's happening there. But yeah, somebody said it could be a sound gate issue. I have no idea. Audio is way beyond me. Yeah, I think, I mean, looking at the score here, it was pretty clear that Stardekk had the momentum and Stardekk was doing well. And those last few air engagements, those could have been a pretty hard turning point, I think. I mean, Stardekk was only leading by about 660 points. And that's like 2.5 fighters. Like that's or at least Su-27s. That's not that much. There was air RNG issues. The Stingers did not perform. The Stingers did not perform against the supply helicopters. The Stingers did not perform against the planes. The ATAS did not get its shots fired, considering the planes were constantly flying above its head instead of at its like firing radius. I don't know if I don't know a lot about helicopters, so I'm pretty sure they can't fire straight up. And I mean, it's a T-Man Air RNG is a meme, of course, been on his stream for a long time, and I think it's partly because of like a recency or selection bias or whatever, because everybody has bad air RNG. Air RNG is just so visible because it happens all at once and it often is so important. And with 101st, the only way to actually deal with this, or what Stardekk was bringing out there, was to first get air supremacy, second of all, get Apaches to destroy the armored breakthrough. Then T-Man could have transitioned into support equipment with artillery, with TOW2s holding front lines, and could have done some like infantry attacks all around the map. And in that point, 25th would have probably been stretched a little bit too thin, but never achieving that air supremacy. There was not even being able to shoot down those supply helicopters meant that the T-64s would have just kept on getting good engagements, kept on being around there, and kept on being supported by an increasing number of E-Class and the planes. And T-Man, even though I would have loved to see that game maybe go just a little bit further, there is a point when you're playing in already a pretty expensive division like 101st. There's only that much of early beatdown that you can survive.
Yeah, and both of the openers, as always, have been like the two games that T-Man lost were lost in the opener. Like this opener was a disaster once more. The deltas being spread out against the helicopters, like Stardekk had that figured out immediately. T-Man once more trying to set up for mid game before saving the early game, and before securing the early game, and that just got punished so hard when he lost the Humvee tow and had nothing to protect his infantry against the T-64s whilst being caught out in the open. That was just the big start moment to snowball all of this, and then he couldn't afford as many fighters as the other side, needed to take bad air engagements, and that killed the F-15s, and that killed the game for him. Games well done here by Stardekk, and yeah, we will be back with more games tomorrow, guys. For now, we have 2 semifinalists. We will add 2 more there tomorrow. Now let's have a look here. And yeah, I already ordered a new microphone right now on the side because I think it's my microphone starting to really give up on me after 5 years of good service. But yeah, I have no idea why it's changing the voice, like the volume so much. I have not touched anything on it, and it just went from super low to super high. Or, on its
It
own.
could have been like a literal physical connection issue, because it would explain why there would be like a second of ultra robot protos, and then when the connection gets back in the
Yeah,
microphone
as I
and
said,
whatever software it has.
I think it's a hardware issue at this point. So
Yeah.
I just ordered a new one. It won't be there tomorrow, so hopefully I can find good settings for the microphone for tomorrow, for the other two quarterfinals. But yeah, better audio from Monday onward. Once more, guys. Uh, but yeah, Bubblegun here, aka Scoof and Stardekk in the semifinals. Those will be best of 5. Another streamer has fallen with Tman. I'm really excited for tomorrow's games. Mix 90 versus Griffin. The two unknowns when it comes to power level. Like, how amazing are they really? Like, we know they're really, really good. We knew that before the season started. Mix 90 already crashed the ladder. Griffin already crashed the ladder. But they also hold up so far on tournament level. And the big question is, who can it do better now in this best of 3? And then Stardekk versus Fortitude Fans is really scary for Stardekk, being such a heavy tank player, whilst Fortitude Fans has been eating tank players for breakfast so far. So I hope Stahl comes prepared, because otherwise I feel like that can be pretty one-sided towards Fortitude Fans. But we will see if Stahl can maybe do a bit more human flesh instead of steel in that game.
Yeah, I mean, this day today we had the Asiatic imperialists, the Russians and the Israelis, going against the Anglo streamers, and the Anglo streamers got pretty solidly taken out. There is, of course, an inherent disadvantage in being a streamer, because there's a lot of material about you playing. There's a lot of collected understanding of your weaknesses and the stuff that you're going to do. Stardekk especially does have that experience against T-Man, and I think Stardekk managed to exploit that in the first game especially pretty badly. And T-Man could have also kind of, I mean, who wouldn't be demoralized after that first game? I mean, T-Man could go back to his safe place in 119th and Vertigo, but in that last match, I think T-Man was just trying to do something like relatively unpredictable, and playing it slowly, and there could have been a division with a stronger capacity to face down 25th, but I still think that like the air RNG, the air micro, could have gone slightly differently here. ATGMs in the helicopters could have started firing, and the last game could have gone any different way. But Stardekk knows T-Man's weaknesses, and the people like Scoof and Stardekk also, they are very, very dedicated, from my understanding. Of course, everybody only has a limited amount of free time, but I'm going to be interested in seeing how Stardekk is going to deal against somebody like Mix 90, for instance, where they don't necessarily have that kind of backlog of understanding.
Yeah, and GGVP here to the players once more. And yeah, we're gonna see each other tomorrow, guys. Have a nice day here for now. And whilst I try to figure out how to maybe get my microphone to one more day of casting for tomorrow. And I'm also gonna make a sacrifice to the German internet gods so that we don't have to restart mid game 1 again. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and see you